Would I be the asshole for repeatedly telling someone that she eats babies? When my partner, 58M and I, 41M, ordered veal, a friend of his, 69F, said she wouldn't be having the veal because she doesn't eat babies. After the three of us got our meals, she again announced that she doesn't eat veal or lamb because she doesn't eat babies, and then went on to enjoy her chicken. I like the veal, but her remark was untimely, to say the least. She visited a few months later, and for some reason I can't remember, she announced her stance again, even though we weren't having lamb or veal. Later, when my partner said she would be visiting again, I decided to do some research. I discovered that chickens are killed younger than lambs and calves raised for meat, both in absolute terms and as a proportion of their natural lifespan. Lo and behold, at an afternoon gathering with various other people, a wedding menu was being discussed, and she proclaimed, "I don't eat babies." I said, "But you eat chicken." "So?" "They're only around 6 weeks old when they're slaughtered for meat." "No, they're not. They're fully grown." "That's because of how they're bred and fed." "I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Shut up." I shut up so I wouldn't cause more of a scene. Months go by and she visits again. I swear her "I don't eat babies" stance must be core to her identity. Because, I kid you not, she announces it again. I'm seething inside, but I don't say anything. I can't seem to let this go. She says it in a way that, to me, comes across as morally superior, which I could possibly tolerate if I believed it were true. Here's what I want to do, and would I be the asshole for doing it? Next time she visits, I want to say with authority, you either stop eating chicken or you stop saying you don't eat babies. If you continue doing both, you're a liar. Am I the asshole for breaking up with my boyfriend over this? I, 23M, broke up with my boyfriend, 25M, of 2 years last night, and now I'm wondering if I overreacted. My cousin, 29F, just got married to her wife, 28F, in a beautiful ceremony. They're the first queer couple in our family to get married, and it meant a lot to me personally. Growing up, I didn't even know if I'd be allowed to be out, let alone see two women I love and admire stand up and be celebrated like that. My boyfriend, we'll call him Zach, came with me. He's met most of my family before, and everything seemed fine. During the reception, things got emotional. A few people gave unplanned toasts, and my cousin asked if I wanted to say something. I kept it short. I just said how proud I was of them, and how beautiful it was to see queer love honored like that. That was it. When I sat down, Zach leaned over and quietly whispered, "You know, for someone who's not even in the wedding, you're really trying to make it your moment." I thought he was joking and gave him a look. Then he added, "You gonna cry again or save it for our wedding that we're never having?" He smirked like it was nothing. I laughed awkwardly because I didn't want to cause a scene and ruin my cousin's wedding. But it stuck with me. I didn't say anything right away because it wasn't the time or place. I didn't want to make the night about me or create any drama. Later, back at our hotel, I brought it up. I told him his comment hurt, especially since he knows how much this wedding meant to me. He brushed it off and said, "Jesus, you're still on that?" It was a joke. You were getting so sappy I thought you were going to propose. I told him I didn't think it was funny. I said he'd taken a moment that mattered to me and made me feel stupid for caring. He kept calling me sensitive and said I was overthinking everything, like always. So I told him I was done. I packed my stuff, called a friend, and left. He's texted me since, saying I made a scene out of nothing, that I chose a weird hill to die on, that I'll regret throwing away a good thing over a dumb joke. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I overreacted. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for dropping out of my sister's wedding after accidentally overhearing what she really thinks of me? I, 29F, have a younger sister, Layla, 26F. She got engaged about 6 months ago, and when she told me she couldn't afford an engagement party, I stepped in and paid for the entire thing. The venue, the catering, the decorations, everything. It ended up costing me £4,200. She promised she'd pay me back, but after the party, she never brought it up again. 2 weeks later, she asked me to be her maid of honor. I was so happy that I immediately said yes and started helping with all the wedding planning. Then last week, everything changed. I was on a video call with our mom when Layla walked into the room. She didn't realize I was still connected and could hear everything. I heard her tell our mom that her best friend, Sophie, was supposed to be maid of honor, but Sophie had backed out because she's pregnant and exhausted. Then Layla said, "I had to ask my sister instead. At least she already paid for everything, so she'll just keep going along with whatever I need." I sat there on mute for almost a full minute. I genuinely couldn't believe what I just heard. Then things got even worse. A few days later, my aunt told me that Layla had been telling her fiancé's entire family that I volunteered to pay for the engagement party as a gift. So now his whole family thinks I'm this incredibly generous, selfless sister, when in reality, I'm still waiting to be repaid £4,200. And apparently, I'm only maid of honor because her first choice dropped out. At that point, I was done. I called her and told her I was stepping down as maid of honor. She immediately started crying and accused me of ruining her wedding. Now my mom is furious with me. My dad hasn't spoken to me in 3 days. And somehow everyone is acting like I'm the villain. All because I don't want to smile, stand beside someone at her wedding, and pretend everything is fine when she clearly sees me as nothing more than an ATM with legs. I was on mute, not deaf. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for firing my sister after reading her blog and refusing to rehire her without an apology? Basically, what happened is that I ended up reading my sister's blog. A friend sent it to me and asked if one of the characters was supposed to be me. Spoiler alert, it was. The blog is a couple of years old and apparently pretty popular. She doesn't use our real names, but the fake names are extremely similar and all start with the same letters. Think something like Katie becoming Kathy, Julia becoming June, and so on. The details are specific enough that my friend figured out who I was immediately. Most of the blog is about her life, but a lot of it involves the rest of our family too. A year ago, I had an abortion. It happened during the lowest point of my life. The only people who knew were my husband and my sister. She swore she would take that secret to her grave. Instead, she wrote an entire blog post about it. Then there was the situation with her job. A few months ago, she and her husband were both laid off. I run my own business, which wasn't really affected, and I offered her a job to help her out. She's not qualified for the work we normally do, so I essentially created a position for her. She mostly does data entry and other administrative tasks remotely from home. According to her blog, she absolutely hates it. She described the work as demeaning. She wrote that I clearly don't respect her intelligence. I think that's ridiculous because, 1, she would need years of training to do any of the actual jobs we hire for. And 2, I told her exactly what the role involved before she accepted it. At the time, she was incredibly grateful and repeatedly thanked me for helping her. After reading all of this, I called her. I told her how hurt I was. Her response was that the blog is basically her online diary and a place where she vents. She said I shouldn't take any of it personally. Then she actually told me she was hurt that I read it. Apparently the correct response was supposed to be ignoring it. I told her my issue wasn't just the criticism. My issue was that she shared one of the most painful secrets of my life online. A secret she promised never to tell anyone. Her response was that she'd changed the names and done her due diligence. She said it wasn't her fault that someone who knew me figured it out. The argument got increasingly heated. Eventually, I fired her. I told her that if she couldn't understand why I was upset or even apologize, then she wasn't the person I thought she was. And if she hated working for me so much, she could find another job. It's been a week now. We haven't spoken at all. Her husband keeps contacting me, Matsat saying they need the money and asking me to give her the job back. He claims she's sorry. But if she really is sorry, I don't understand why she can't tell me herself. My husband thinks I'm overreacting. He says she's family, and I should just move on. I don't agree. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for giving my daughter 30 days to move out? For privacy, I'll use fake names. I have 2 daughters, Zoe, 21, and Bea, 17. Their biological father was a narcissist who constantly demeaned both of them. It took years of court battles, but my husband, Tim, and I finally got full custody when Zoe was 16. Because of everything she went through, Zoe started therapy when she was young. Even then, she had a tendency to be demanding, angry, and cruel to the people around her. I did everything I could to help. I went to therapy myself. I took parenting classes. I read books. I tried every resource I could find. One thing that helped was encouraging Zoe to channel her emotions into positive outlets, like kickboxing. For a while, things improved, but when Zoe turned 18, she quit therapy. She said it was a waste of time. Since then, she's refused any kind of help or positive outlet. Instead, she uses her childhood as an excuse to mistreat everyone around her. Right now, Zoe lives at home completely rent-free. My husband and I pay for everything. Her college tuition, which costs more than $56,000 a year. Her car, her phone, her insurance, everything. Yet she refuses to help around the house. Even asking her to do something simple, like filling the dog's water bowl, can turn into a screaming match. She believes she's entitled to our money. She gets angry that we're also saving for Bea's future instead of giving every spare dollar to her as fun money. Then came last Sunday. My husband and I left for a doctor's appointment. The next day, Bea told me something that completely changed how I saw the situation. Apparently, while we were gone, Zoe went on a rant about me. The reason? Before leaving, I'd asked her to put a frozen meal in the oven. My husband is a cancer survivor. He finished chemotherapy earlier this year. He's still weak and gets sick often, but continues working from home to help support our family. I simply wanted dinner ready for him when we got back. According to Bea, Zoe exploded. She called me a selfish bitch. Then she said, Tim is a grown-ass man. Why can't he make his own food instead of me doing everything because he's useless? That was my breaking point. Not because she insulted me, because she insulted the man who stepped up and became a father when her biological father wouldn't. The man who has loved, supported, and provided for her for years. When Zoe came home, I sat her down. I told her that her car was already in her name and her final year of college had already been paid for. But beyond that, the financial support was over. I gave her 30 days to move out, and until the end of the year, to find her own insurance. I told her we would no longer be paying her expenses. We would no longer be treated like ATMs by someone who clearly has no respect for us. If she wanted to be treated like an independent adult, then she could start acting like one. Zoe will most likely move in with her grandparents, but not everyone agrees with my decision. My sister says I'm the worst person she's ever met. She believes you never turn your back on family. She also says I know Zoe's childhood trauma changed her forever. And she's right, it did. But in my opinion, trauma may explain someone's behavior. It doesn't excuse it, especially when it's directed at the people who've spent years trying to help. So now I'm wondering, am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for yelling at a couple to shut up during a movie? Tonight, my partner and I went to see The Backrooms. We got there just as the movie started, settled into our seats, and started watching. About 30 to 45 minutes into the movie, a couple came in and sat right next to us. Normally, I don't care if people arrive late because I've done it before too. The problem was the amount of noise they made. They were constantly rustling food wrappers, throwing things around, and talking to each other almost nonstop for about 15 minutes. The woman kept burping loudly between conversations. They were only half whispering, but in a quiet theater, it was incredibly obvious. She also kept pointing at the screen saying, "Ooh, ooh, look at that," during completely normal scenes. Then she'd loudly kiss her boyfriend. After putting up with it for around 20 minutes, I finally snapped. I turned to them and said, "Are you two going to keep talking? Or can you shut the fuck up? It's extremely distracting." They just stared at me. Then they didn't say another word for the rest of the movie. So, mission accomplished. I know I probably shouldn't have sworn, but at a certain point, it's ridiculous how some people have absolutely no consideration for everyone else around them. They're the same kind of people who cut you off in traffic while staring at their phones. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for telling my sister she's not actually Jewish? My wife and I recently flew across the country to visit my parents. We live in the Pacific Northwest, while my parents live in coastal Massachusetts. They invited my sister and her husband out to dinner with us. My sister and I aren't especially close these days, but we get along fine. A few years ago, my mom got really into researching our family history. She sent her DNA to one of those ancestry websites and even discovered a long-lost brother who'd been adopted out. She also found out that one of her grandparents was Ashkenazi Jewish. That means my mom is about 25% Ashkenazi Jewish, and my sister and I are each around 12%. The thing is, we didn't grow up religious at all. My dad was raised Catholic but stopped practicing after college. My mom grew up in a non-religious home. We never went to church, never went to temple, and religion just wasn't part of our lives. During dinner, my mom and sister were talking when our ancestry came up. They both proudly said, "We're Jewish." I responded, "I'm sorry, but Judaism is a religion. I don't think you should call yourself Jewish if you don't actually practice it." My sister replied, "Well, don't tell that to my son. This is really important to him." I told her I thought it was great to embrace our family history, but I didn't think we should call ourselves Jewish when we've never practiced, been to a temple, or followed any of the traditions. She called me ignorant. So I asked her, "Would you say you're Jewish if you were in a room full of Jewish people or standing in a synagogue?" She didn't answer. Instead, she kept arguing that I was being ignorant and asked me if I thought Jesus was Jewish. At that point, everyone at the table looked uncomfortable, so I stopped talking and let the conversation move on. Am I the asshole for telling my sister she's not actually Jewish? Am I the asshole for calling out my neighbor after I saw him kick his dog? I live in an apartment complex. My roommates have lived here longer than I have, and apparently, they've had a lot of issues with one of our neighbors. It started after they heard what sounded like a domestic dispute and called the police. The neighbors confronted them afterward and told them to mind their own business. Today, I stepped outside to meet some friends who were waiting in the car. One of those neighbors was walking a little dog. The dog barked at me, and the guy kicked it. It wasn't the hardest kick imaginable, but it was definitely more than just nudging the dog with his foot. The dog is tiny too. Small enough that you could seriously hurt it without even meaning to. I looked at him and said, "Did you just kick your dog?" He immediately denied it. I told him it was messed up to kick your dog. Then I loudly told my friends waiting in the car that the guy had just kicked his dog. This is where I might have gone too far. While I was loading my stuff into the trunk, he came back outside with another dog. I said, "All right, now don't kick that one too." He denied it again. I told him I'd seen him do it, got in the car, and left. Later, I texted my roommates to let them know what happened. Apparently, that was a good idea, because the neighbors reported me to apartment management. I wasn't home, so my roommate spoke with management instead and explained the long history they've had with these neighbors. Management wasn't upset with us, but they did say to report it if we witness anything like that again. My roommates aren't mad at me for speaking up. They're just worried these neighbors might escalate things because they've caused problems before. I still think I should have said something after seeing him kick the dog. I'm just worried that my second comment might make things harder for my roommates, even though they had nothing to do with it. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for asking to relax for 10 minutes before making my postpartum wife breakfast? For some background, we had a baby just 1 week ago. Before the birth, we agreed that she'd take her maternity leave first, then I'd take mine once hers ends. That way we'd get more time at home with the baby. Right now, I'm taking care of our 4-year-old pretty much 100% of the time. I'm making his meals, doing bath time, taking him to summer camp, and handling everything he needs. I don't mind because I was already his primary caregiver before this, since my job gives me more flexibility. On top of that, I'm doing all the household chores like laundry, dishes, and cooking. Anytime the baby needs a diaper change, I'm on it. I'm helping with the baby as much as I can too. Honestly, I feel like I'm doing a lot, but I'm not complaining. I'm just in dad mode. I even spent Father's Day giving my wife a chance to sleep while I took both kids out to run errands and buy groceries. The biggest issue is that I work from home. My wife has never really treated my work hours like actual work. I'm constantly asked to do things around the house or for her during the day. I try to help because I do have some flexibility, but I'm still working. Even before the baby, if our 4-year-old was sick or had the day off, I was always expected to stop working because, in her eyes, I was already home. One thing we argue about a lot is that she micromanages everything I do. I'm exhausted by it. Apparently, I hold the baby wrong. I picked the wrong shoes for our son. I should drive in a different lane. I don't even park the car correctly. It feels like I can't do anything without being told there's a better way. This morning, I made oatmeal for everyone while getting our son ready. He ate. I brought my wife a bowl. Then I took him to camp. When I got back, I went straight to work because I was already behind. I even had to take a work call from my laptop in the car outside the house because I couldn't make everyone wait while I got set up inside. By the time the call ended, about 2 hours had passed since she'd eaten. I went upstairs to check on her and the baby. I wasn't on lunch or taking a break. I just had about 20 minutes between work and wanted to lie down with them for a bit. Babies are cute. She asked if I could make her an omelet because she wanted some protein. I said, sure. Can I just chill with you guys for 10 minutes first? She nodded. I was just lying there, looking at the baby, when about 2 minutes later, she asked in an annoyed voice, can you make it now? I got up, a little frustrated, and made the omelet. That turned into a huge fight. I tried to give her some grace because she just had a baby. I stayed calm, didn't argue, and made her a really good omelet with spinach, ham, and cheese. When I brought it upstairs, she got angry and said she didn't want it anymore and told me to throw it away. I brought it back downstairs, didn't say a word, saved it instead of throwing it out, did the dishes, and went back to work. It just didn't feel like a battle worth fighting. About an hour later, she came downstairs. I offered her the omelet since I'd saved it for her. She told me I was an asshole, said she'd already made herself food, and told me I never had to make her food again because, in her words, you obviously didn't want to. When I tried to talk about what happened, it turned into me always being the victim and being too sensitive. Am I the asshole for telling my husband I don't want to be involved with his dying mother's medical problems anymore? My mother-in-law is 68. She's a former meth addict and still drinks heavily. She used to go through about 2 gallons of vodka a week. Now she says she's cut back, but she still drinks more than 10 beers every night. She doesn't think that's a problem. She also smokes around 2 packs of cigarettes a day. She was born with a heart defect and has already had 2 open heart surgeries. Honestly, it's amazing she's still alive. Back in March of last year, her doctors estimated she had 6 months to a year left to live. It's now been over a year, and she's still here. She refuses hospice. She's had several close calls with death, but somehow always pulls through. Today, my husband called and asked if I could pick her up and take her to the hospital. I did it because I love my husband. I've never really gotten along with my mother-in-law. I don't hate her. She's a wonderful grandmother, but she's said and done things to me that I can't really forgive. She also drank heavily, used drugs, and smoked throughout her pregnancy with my husband. She has absolutely no remorse about it. She laughs and says she had the best time of her life. At the hospital, the doctors diagnosed her with pancreatitis. They kept asking about her alcohol use. She immediately got annoyed. They explained that her condition was a direct result of her lifestyle. She didn't want to hear it. She started snapping at everyone. She complained that she never should have come because now she had to stay in the hospital for 24 to 48 hours. She only wanted something to make the pain go away. Watching her get angry at the doctors for telling her the truth, honestly, disgusted me. So I left. Later, I told my husband I don't want to be bothered anymore with his mother's medical issues. The doctors basically said the same thing. They can't help someone who refuses to help herself. She cries about dying, but gets angry whenever anyone explains why. She's never taken responsibility for any of it. After more than 20 years of dealing with this, I just don't have any empathy left. For some extra context, I would never stop my husband from being there for his mother. I told him a long time ago that this situation was becoming too much for me, and he agreed it was okay for me to step back. There have been times when I didn't visit my in-laws for an entire year, not even for holidays. It's how I protect my own peace. I also struggle with anxiety and depression and had a nervous breakdown about 10 years ago. If I can avoid unnecessary drama, I do. My husband understands that, and I understand why he still wants to be there for his mom. Am I the asshole? So, which story was your favorite? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's stories, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another episode. And if you have any crazy Reddit stories you'd like to see featured, let us know in the comments. Now click the video on your screen for another crazy Reddit story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.